And now we're live with the second Koraniyule. This year's Koraniyule is going to be special and exclusive. I'm sorry, I've messed up the introduction. My apologies. Let's start again. And now we have Robert Cobb here from down under, the thinking and drinking Aussie who had dreams in the metal scene but was rejected because of his views described as fascist. So, Rob, what have you to say about your career in fascist rock?
Thank you for having me on Koraniyule.
You may call me Claire.
I know, yeah. So Claire, thank you for having me here. As a young man, I was into heavy metal, and I was kind of a leftist, to be honest. I was completely immersed. In fact, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Venus Project or the Zeitgeist
No, I
movement.
was thinking of AC/DC. Which,
Mm,
aren't they Australian?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Is that
as we
heavy
say
metal?
here,
That's heavy metal, isn't it?
well, no, not really. It's kind of heavy rock, I guess you would say. But
Okay.
yeah, here we say Akadaka.
That's how you call them.
Yeah, that's kind of the pub term for AC/DC. Is
Okay.
Akadaka.
Uh-huh.
Mm. So anyway, so you haven't heard of the Zeitgeist movement?
No, Zeitgeist. I've heard of Zeitgeist.
Yeah. So there was this guy, Zeitgeist.
Oh, it's a person. I thought it was a thing. I thought it meant spirit of the age. That was what I was thinking of. Well, you keep introducing me to new culture and new words and new concepts. But
Yeah, that's kind of what I do.
mm,
Like I said, the drinking, thinking
cultural
Australian.
critic, the
Yes.
drinking, thinking cultural critic. That could be a good line for you. A good title, label.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna share my screen. Wait, is it too early to share my screen? Fuck it.
No, it's not.
Let's fucking go. All right.
You have to click
Yeah,
present.
yeah. Wikipedia, your favorite site, Claire. Here we are.
Mm.
This
What
is
would we
your
do without
Wiki.
Wikipedia?
So here is the thing I was telling you. The Zeitgeist movement, created by an activist, Peter Joseph. Very interesting name there. Independent filmmaker, blah, blah, blah. He made a film called Zeitgeist. This kind of brought all of the Gen Z, Gen X. I don't know what I am. What am I? Gen Z? I don't know. A millennial. I'm a millennial. It
You
gave
are a
all of the
millennial.
older
Mhm.
millennials some kind of movement to fall into.
I don't think I think it's rather sinister the way we divide ourselves into generational tribes. I think we don't need to do that. It's just silly. But it's sort of like we haven't got an identity and we have to somehow, divide ourselves by all these unnecessary things just to feel, unique and whatever. And we'll just end up fighting each other, I think.
Mm, yeah.
And then they will try to bond with each other through, oh, do you like this music and do you like that, movie? And then maybe even have duels to the death over not liking a particular band or a movie. I fear.
Well, that would be the dream, wouldn't it, if we brought back the dream? But let's let's table my extreme views for maybe later on in the stream. But yeah, no, it was an interesting one. So I sort of became kind of an extreme leftist. I was brought up religious. This kind of smashed religion for me in some kind of weird, esoteric way. And then I kind of became pagan. And this guy, Jack Fresco, he was kind of my god for a little while. So because I studied industrial design, as this guy did, as you can see on the I've just fucked that up. We'll go back and just read the little picture. He kind of looks a little bit Jewish now that I look at him. Maybe he was. I don't know. He was probably just French. American futurist, self-described social engineer. That's an interesting term. Self-described social engineer. A lot of us want to be social engineers, I feel like. Maybe you
Rather
do.
than industrial engineers.
Yeah. Worked in various positions related to industrial design, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, he had this grand vision for the world where we would solve all of our problems through technical solutions in architecture and so on and so forth. Obviously very loved by the left, even though a lot of people don't know about him now. He had this the Venus Project, which is in Venus, Florida. Is it? I think it's in Florida. Is it Venus, Florida? Is that a town in Florida? I feel
I
like it
don't
is.
know.
Oh,
But
there we
it,
go. There we go. There it is. There it is. So anyway, so I was taken into under his wing for a little while. So yeah. So anyway, where was I going with this? I'm gonna stop sharing the screen. This is getting very, very spicy way too fast. Unless you had something to say about this whole thing.
well,
Oh,
I'm just waiting for you to tell us why you find this. Well, okay. You said Venus Project and social engineering, and
mm,
that's all I managed to absorb from your description.
oh dear. Well,
And I was kind of multitasking. Sorry about that, because I was
very
sharing the link
professional of you there.
to this
Yeah.
stream, and then I responded to a few notifications and read a few messages. Sorry about that.
You're a very popular individual, woman. What do you want to call
Do you think I'm popular? I suppose
it?
I'm infamous.
Personality. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, so I got heavily involved in leftism then for a little while, and my Catholic mate always sort of tried to warn me of the dangers of extreme, basically communism when it boils down to it. Um, and yeah, and I was in a metal band for a little while. This is metal for the older person in the stream. It's basically like kind of extreme rock, but with like amplifiers turned up to, well, it's not about the volume, but it's about distortion. So you kind of distort your guitars into some sort of hellish sound and then you vibe off the sound. You know what I mean? It's all about heaviness. I guess is the
Hmm.
key to the music. So yeah, so we did that for a little while.
I'm glad
Me
you
and
got kicked out of it because it sounds
yeah,
horrible.
sorry.
Because it sounds a horrible form of music. So,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
you're better than that, Rob. Surely you can
Mm,
actually play the guitar properly.
mm. Well, this is kind of the illusion that people that don't understand metal they kind of say because okay, there's metal heads and then there's metal fans and then there's people that can play music and it's kind of a three-way what do you call that? A Zen diagram? What do you call that? A
Then maybe
diagram?
then.
Venn diagram. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And everyone's kind of playing off each other for the whole time. And meanwhile, there's this, there's this what would you say, tits in the room that are kind of the groupies that kind of like slot themselves around these bands. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Kids in the room. So anyway, so we did that for a little while, and you know, it was what it was. We weren't very good. We should have probably studied music a lot more before we started turning up the distortion, like you said. But you know, it was a fun time. And then suddenly everyone turned on me because you know, my housemate who was my band member like got a new girlfriend or whatever and he moved out and blah blah blah, right? And then suddenly it was just kind of me against the world, and I was trying to start another scene or trying to be involved in another scene in my home city in
Hmm.
South Australia. And that's when kind of the woke went turbo woke.
Hmm.
And I shared a picture of, because for some reason someone was talking about transgenderism and like how, you know, we should break boundaries down and so on and so forth. Um, so I shared a picture, and this maybe is just like my inherent baseness that's like not corrupted by the Venus Project or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I still had kind of the soul of a European sitting there inside me. So I
Hmm.
shared a picture of some what do you call it? The chromosomes, a DNA microscopic picture of chromosomes, right?
Hmm.
We all know that male chromosomes look like one thing and female chromosomes look like the other thing. There's
Hmm.
two forks on one side and one fork on the other, or whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
And these people that had previously, this was on Facebook, by the way. These people that had previously like basically said they were my friends turned around and completely shut me out. And then I turned up to a gig, and some chick came over and said, "You shouldn't be here. Like, what are you doing here? This is not your scene." Blah blah blah. And so I kept persisting, you know. And then another guy came up to me one night and said, "Yeah, you should fuck off. Like, this is getting, you know, we
But
can't
what
keep
had you
coming
actually
here."
done? What you shared a picture of what?
Of chromosomes.
And this threatened entire belief system of feminism, and that's why
Yeah.
they took against you. Is that it?
Well, this was the start of transgenderism. Yeah, so they scoped me out, and I don't know if it was, like I said, I thought they were my friends, but some of them were like hangers on, and I think they had some influence in the university that I went to, and it all got out of control, and it was totally wild. And I was basically shut out of uh, I guess you would say polite society in the home city that is South
So
Australia.
was your heresy? That you were a transphobe? Was that what you
Yeah,
were
yeah,
guilty of in their
that was
eyes?
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Huh. So much for the free West, eh?
Yeah.
And
So that
and,
was
and
my
your mistake was to
origin
take
story.
it literally. I mean, the narrative that in the West we are freer than the non-West.
Yeah, yeah, and it turns out freedom is only one-sided when you have a group to back up your freedom, I guess.
Or the government, really. And the
Yeah,
government can go
or whatever
mad.
the propaganda is at the time, the media.
Yeah, and that's why we need secular Quranism and the narrative that men are men and women are women, and and tribes and nations can better protect themselves if they follow these rules and maintain gender relations, reasonable
Sure.
gender relations, and yes.
Yeah, I mean, we need something, you know, whether it's the Quran or I don't know, just
Well, just the idea that at the very basic level, it's like, well, if you're a group and you want to continue to remain in existence, you have to um, you have to sexually reproduce, and then maybe you might parent them properly and educate and train them properly, and they will be a credit to you. That's the idea, really, of child rearing, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a very dare I say pagan view, but it is kind of the mythos that brought I guess you would say Europeans and Anglo-Saxons into the world, was this kind of grand narrative of romanticism and living through your kids in some kind of way, and
It's
also
shared by
making
non-humans.
your part on the world. Yeah, well, just being part of a community, and
Yeah,
making
so
that
it's universal.
stronger. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess it is.
Well,
Yeah.
animals, sexually reproduce and try to find mates, and they have different, arrangements. Like, well, in the animal kingdom, the mother is usually a lone mother unless they are social animals and live in, say, a pride of lions or a herd of elephants. But
Mhm.
there is gender segregation. Because I mean, in a pride of lions, it's like, yeah, you can be in a pride, but if you're male and you reach adolescence, you're kicked out. You're actually kicked out. The females are welcome, but the males are expelled from their community.
It's a bit like how the dating market is now, where, well, I don't know if this is true, but a lot of like what's his name? The fucking, is he Arab? What is he? The Andrew Tate type people.
Right?
What are these people?
Muslims?
Are they? Well, was he uh Christian before? I think he was Orthodox, wasn't he? And then he turned
Um,
into a Muslim.
his brother Tristan converted to Orthodox Christianity to
Mm.
marry, I guess, his Serbian wife or something, because in Eastern Europe they're Orthodox Christian. So that I think.
Interesting, interesting. And I guess young Andrew wanted to have a harem, so he uh, he went to the dark side and didn't take up a wife. No, his choice is to gather as many young virile females to his lair, as possible. Maybe
He's a father now, I believe, but
is he?
um,
Is he
yeah.
married?
I think he did say that he was a father, and then he then I remember him saying he wouldn't tell people if he was married or not because he wanted to protect, you know,
Convenient.
the person he might be married to. I guess that was the
Sure.
implication.
Yeah. I
But,
mean,
but
whatever, he has a lot of money, he has a weak chin, he's into Bugattis, it's a bit gay. Most of his shit's a little bit gay, to be honest. I think once he said he'd rather sleep, or he recommends men to sleep with a tranny that looks, you know, like a woman versus a woman who doesn't look like or looks like a man or something. So, very concerning.
I
But,
think he was just talking in hypotheticals.
yeah, well, okay, whatever. I don't like the guy.
Well, I mean, probably because he's Muslim, right?
No, 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 no. It's just his
Well, he has a kind
physiognomy,
of
as the
gangsterish
kids
air
say
about
now.
him, right? The way he talks, it's all very gangster.
Yeah, he's a douchebag.
Mm. But some women like him. I know too.
They
They think he's the epitome of masculinity.
do they though? I don't know.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
mean, no, really, I mean, they do go on about him in a I'd love to marry him kind of way.
Mm.
So,
Whatever happened to
not
the?
my type, I would say, but but the next generation will, always have a different taste or different idea of what is attractive.
Yeah, maybe. What do you think about the classic men like Robin Hood? My profile picture here. What
Uh,
was his fucking name again?
Errol Flynn.
Yeah.
I guess I am a little suspicious of very good-looking men because I don't think men are for looking at. So
Interesting.
uh,
Is that why you don't
I
like rich men?
prefer, you know, um, men who are just sort of looking of average appearance, but but above average
Mm,
IQ and success.
interesting. Yeah. That's one thing where I think I wasn't like taught correctly by my father or whoever was meant to teach me about like making money. I've never really understood how to make money. Like I know I should go to a job and work or whatever, but I've never really understood like these kind of these cats that cruise around and somehow everything they do, money just kind of falls into their lap. Like entertainers or whatever. I don't know. Like or people that own businesses. Like I've never really understood the dynamics of a business and how that works. Maybe I should go to business school or something, but it's like, I'm getting older now, so it's probably not going to happen. So I guess I'll just continue working my job or whatever. But
You
it's like,
have to understand opportunity cost, I think, you know, and about maximizing profits and minimizing losses. So you just
yeah,
have to, every time you spend something, it's like, could I better be spending my money on this or that? It's not just about what to invest in and which kind of, cryptocurrency. I think it's about, are you making the best use of your time and resources? And well,
yeah. And
with
obviously, it's pretty clear that I'm not making them.
yeah,
What I'm
because if you think of how
doing.
much you spend on alcohol, it's probably eye-watering, right?
Hmm, maybe
Yeah.
if I
So
was
so
rich,
yeah.
if I was a rich man, though, which I
Yeah,
think
I mean, if
maybe
you're a rich man,
I
you could
think my
you could
problem
afford to pay for.
is. Sorry, you can. What did you? What were you saying?
Well, I was saying, well, if you were a rich man, you could afford, to own your own cellar, and but we're not all wealthy, able to drink ourselves to death, and for nobody
Mm.
to care. But yes,
Yeah,
it's an economic concept, opportunity cost.
it's like that movie. What was it Lolita or was it a Kubrick movie? I don't know. There's kind of this millionaire. He's like living in a big like fucking estate, and he just kind of drinks himself to death. It's like a black and white movie. What was it? Was it
I
Netflix?
I don't I don't think I ever saw it.
I don't know. Maybe it was
What was the
Lolita.
moral of that story, though?
I don't think there was a moral. That's
Okay.
the problem with Hollywood is there's not really a clear moral. A lot of it is kind of just like despair and
Yeah,
whatever.
well, we shouldn't, I mean, Hollywood is state propaganda,
Yeah,
or propaganda not controlled by the state.
yeah, yeah. Have you ever watched what was that Russian sci-fi director? Andrei Rublev was one of his movies. Just give me a second. This is dead air, Claire. Please, like, fill in.
Oh, I was just thinking about the next thing to say. Yes, I could be talking about opportunity cost, which is an economic concept that assumes And it is true anyway that we only have a limited time, limited resources. And if we're spending our time doing X, but we could be doing Y, we may not be making the best use of our energy, resources, and time. And so, in order to make the best use of our time, resources, and energy, we must make our spending decisions wisely. And there's a Chinese saying that translates as an inch of time, an inch of gold. An inch of gold cannot buy back that inch of time. Something like that. But if we think we have wasted a lot of time and resources, we can, well, stop doing it, right? But I think a lot of people just carry on. It's like, oh, I'm damned anyway. I'll just carry on, taking drugs and wasting time because it's too late for the likes of me. And they don't bother to correct themselves because they're already addicted to, their bad habits. And religion gives us the option of redemption after penitence. So that is the utility of the Abrahamic religions, who all have this concept, which seems to largely have been forgotten about.
Oh
But my
God,
idea,
they like not muted that whole time. Jesus Christ.
oh, you were talking the whole time.
No, I wasn't. I just, did a few things. Anyway, so what were we talking about? So you said something about what did you say again? It's
Opportunity cost.
I sort of got the vibe. Maybe.
And you went off to look for something to do with what you
Yeah,
were trying to remember, some movie or something.
sure. So anyway, so Andrei Rublev, right? So this was a movie about an icon painter made in '66, Moscow, during the Soviet Union. Interesting. So Andrei Tarkovsky was the director. That's who I was trying to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever
While you're
seen
trying,
a Tarkovsky film?
no, not that I know of.
They're incredible. There's some kind of weird trip into Russian psyche. Um, you should do it if you can, like, spare the time or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But what was I going to say? What was I going to say about this man? Yeah, so you were saying that Christianity is not where it's at anymore,
Well,
and
it
we
is the
need
weakest link. Did you ever watch The Weakest Link?
to. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
You
okay.
are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a monument to him. That's cool. That's very cool. Solaris was one of the greatest movies ever.
Oh, yes,
Ever
I remember
made.
you mentioning that to me.
Oh, so it was written by a Polish writer. Interesting. I didn't know that. I'm just cruising Wikipedia now. I'm a bit like you. I'm just fucking.
Right.
I'm on my own
Didn't you
journey
say
here.
you had a particular theme that you wanted to discuss? A subject? Can you
Yeah,
remember what it was?
well, I don't know. I don't know if
You
we
don't
can.
want to talk about it now. I actually can't remember what you said it was.
I'm not saying I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay, you're
I'm just
not.
going to say maybe let me cook a little bit. as the kids say. But no, everyone should watch one of these films by this guy.
Why?
I guess you'll find out. You'll find out. It's like
You have
not
to
the.
do better than that.
It's not the.
You have to make us want to see it. Come on, Rob. Make us want to see your movie recommendations.
All right. Okay. All right. Hold on. Can we do? We're gonna do a whole thing here right now, Claire. We're gonna go on a movie journey.
All right.
If you're all for it.
Okay.
Okay.
Are
This is
you
going to
going to show
play
us
a
clips
very,
and
very
stuff?
hard. But I've asked you to watch The King repeatedly, and you haven't done it. Which is fine. I get it. You have your own. You don't pay for Netflix or whatever. You have a
Well,
friend.
I could watch it, but I don't
It's a
know.
polite
I just have to be in the
situation.
mood, you know. And it's like I've already read the plot, and I sort of know why you like it because of the fighting scenes. Because I know you like a bit of violence, and it's quite well staged, I suppose.
You think I like violence? Yeah, that's an
You do kind of
interesting.
talk about it like, ooh, it's real. It's the only way
I mean, it is
to
like
get
it is
things done.
real,
Well, I mean, I guess,
and
it's a final resort, right? It
yeah,
is
it's the
the
only
last
thing that
resort.
really ultimately moves society is violence. I mean, to the extent where people complain about feminism or whatever, but it turns out men can just shut down feminism at any time if they really had the will to do.
Yeah, but we're talking about organized violence, right? Because that's the only kind of successful violence. And that this means military campaigns and successful revolutions. And
Yeah.
before you can even get round to doing that, there has to be, well, you have to sell the idea of why you want to do this thing, fight this war, or whatever.
Mm,
And this means, you have to go back to words and ideas and narratives and, whatever.
sure. Yeah.
But I mean, it
Um,
is powerful. Narratives can be powerful because it doesn't even have to be true. It's enough if people want it to be true and want to make it come true, because that's basically what skilled oratory is about. The
yeah,
orator paints a
yeah.
picture.
Rhetoric. Yeah, I mean that's where you know. I guess I mean, I don't know if this is the case or whatever, but I think for the average man, if you're going to have an impassioned speech about something that you believe in, it really has to come down to a point where it's do or die. So, you know what I mean? And then you step up or you'll fail. So, the pressure has to be put on. You can't sort of learn rhetoric. I don't feel like, unless you're like kind of like a Bowden or some kind of
Well,
genius
you
who's
have to like words.
a hermit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, obvious. I mean, obviously, but I feel like, well, again, it comes down to good upbringing. If you instill into your children the value of language and you know
And
verbal
give your children a good
speech,
education, and
yeah,
it's more than just having a good education,
yeah,
because the child has to enjoy reading, because if you don't enjoy reading, you won't do it, and therefore you won't cultivate a, a certain respect for the power of ideas as expressed in
mm,
words. So so we're talking about narratives, and it's like, yes, there's a story, and then there's who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, and
yeah,
how do you identify them, and basically, all the religious narratives have these values, and
mm,
these principles. It's already there, so there's no need to cook up a new one, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, here's my point on that, right? So religion is sort of like not that sort of built in. Like what is built into, an individual person is their their values from a perspective of, whether it's like exciting or not. Or another way to put it is like, okay, so here's an example. So when I was a child, um, my grandfather had a farm, and I used to pretend I was Robin Hood. And there was this olive grove that went on for, I don't know, a couple of kilometers or something. And I would grab a stick and pretend I was Robin Hood and just, pretend I was on a little adventure through the olive groves. And I would like, you know, yeah, it sounds kind of
Yes, I can
very
imagine
artistic
a
and very
boy.
kind of
Yeah. And
whatever,
he
right?
probably had a
But
bow and arrow.
well,
I had a bow
yeah,
and
I
arrow.
made that as well and so on. But yeah, so it went on for hours and hours, days and days, possibly, right? And my parents just let me do it because it was a safe environment. And I was out, in the middle of nowhere. Well, compared to like city folk, right? And there was no chance that, you know, someone would attack the farm or like,
Hmm.
because he was a respected member of society in that space or whatever. So
Hmm.
yeah, maybe I was coddled in that way, but I was also free to explore my imagination, and really get deep into the folklore of European civilization. You know what I mean? Through my own like play, and
Hmm.
I think that's severely lacking for especially young men, even young women in today's society.
Well, yeah, the thing is, we all need role models, right? And if most men grew up in a fatherless home, they're going to imitate their mother and how their mother,
Mm.
you know, does things, which a lot of the time is sort of crying and feeling sorry for oneself and getting, some knight in shining armor to fix things.
Yeah,
And
and
that's sort of dangerous.
inviting strange men over, and and then what's the kid doing then? I don't, the disastrousness of fatherless homes is beyond fucking horror. You know what I mean? It's like hell itself for a young child. I feel like.
Well, it doesn't destroy the child concerned. It well, okay, it ruins his life because he is deprived of his potential to succeed as a human being, and
Mm.
and and then he will, go on to father illegitimate offspring and starting a vicious cycle of a race to the bottom. I mean, this is how it all starts, and
Mm. All right, so here's some inspiration for maybe young man or whatever, right? We'll see how this goes. I'm going to give this pretty much zero context, but we have talked about The King, the movie, and this is a scene from The King. Brilliantly done. It's a Shakespeare piece or adaptation. Um, all right, so this is here we go. I'm not gonna talk it up too much because whatever, right? But
that wasn't the speech I remember. Yeah,
yeah,
the one
it's
in
not it's not
Shakespeare,
it's
right?
not the Shakespeare speech, no.
Oh.
I think in some ways it's well, it's not better, but it's more like apt for our age.
Yeah, I mean the best Shakespeare is when the the actors speak the line so well that you forget it's Shakespearean language,
Oh yeah,
Shakespearean English.
absolute genius.
Mm. Yes, I mean
Yeah, no,
it's
but I
very
mean,
well acted.
how fucking like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to bring up Hitler's top guy, but like, how fucking powerful is it when you get fired up about make it England, make it mass, make it tissue, and it's just a young fucking kid yelling in your
Mhm.
face, like. And Falstaff is like he was the dude who kind of did a little smirk at the end in his armor with his moustache and his beard, and he was like, yeah, okay, this is it, I guess. Like, all
Mhm.
right, man, I've I haven't really been living. This is living right now. Do you know what I mean? Because like Falstaff in the movie, at least, I don't know about the play, but he was a playboy and kind of a drunk, and you know he kind of had the old wisdom of the hermit or whatever, but he wasn't really like involved in what was going on. You know what I mean? I feel
Mhm.
like that's kind of me in a lot of ways. Is if I could get involved, I would, but I don't feel like I have enough inspiration to get involved. And
Get
yeah,
involved in what exactly?
I don't know, anything, something that like I want to get behind. You know what I mean?
Well, I
Something
suppose
that
you'd have to work for
means something to me. In your hearts.
what in a way of fighting the good fight. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I think that's what we're all trying to do. Um,
well, yeah, yeah, and it's just a battle of words. I don't know why everybody pretends it's lone journey up the Himalayas without oxygen or supplies. It's like you just think of the words and then you post them on social media and see what happens. But most people won't even
mm,
say those things, or they pretend not to understand because my whole thing was this is what I've been saying for the past week. It's like if white people really cared about the future of their race, they would be demanding Sharia now, but they don't. So these white nationalists, they're all hypocrites. Everyone's a hypocrite, really. They're just sort of pretending like, oh, we want to be, you know, we want to be Jews, but we don't want to be observant Jews. We want to claim the divine right of kings, but where we don't even believe in God, let alone Jesus.
mm,
And the Muslims are no better, because actually the Quran gives them all the arguments, but they won't use them because they're scared of their Christian overlords. So I think
mm.
a lot of the problem is people just sort of, and that's the expression, we know the good, we choose the evil because we
Yeah,
don't think. We don't think fundamentally that good will be rewarded or evil punished because we are all agnostics or atheist. But
yeah.
even the
I mean,
people who claim to
I
believe don't
guess for
believe.
me, like the point of that whole thing was like, there's not I mean, it kind of happened a little bit with Trump, but Trump is whatever, and we can go back and forth on Trump all day
Well,
long.
you're already losing hope in him because of all the people complaining about his appointments
Well,
and
this
the
is what.
him to
Hold on.
take
This is what
over.
women. This is what women do. They shit test before we're inspired. So we men need to be inspired first, at least
They need to be
in
inspired
their
by
minds.
leadership, right? They,
Exactly. Exactly.
and what you
Exactly.
liked
Exactly.
about.
No one's a fucking leader anymore.
Yeah,
Like a
because
real
of
leader.
co-education.
Yeah.
Co-education is a killer, right? Because once you're in a co-ed high school, which the Americans started, then you're going to be using your boyfriend or girlfriend as status, right? And they have a
Mm.
terrible teen culture of jocks and cheerleaders, right? And nerds and geeks don't get a look in because they're not sexy.
Mm.
And it starts young with the Americans.
Well, now it's like
And then,
the
in order to become prom king or prom queen, and it's such a horrible culture that any kid who gets sufficiently pissed off and can get a gun goes and shoots up his high school. And even people, I've spoken to people who said if they thought they could get away with it, that they go back to their high school and shoot it up because they had such a horrible time with
yeah.
this horrible tribal culture of cheerleaders and jocks oppressing the nerds and the geeks.
I mean, there's not. I mean, whatever. I don't know if that's a bad thing.
You
I
don't think
mean,
so?
I
I
was
mean, they're
bullied.
supposed to be studying and learning stuff, not trying to get on, try to get to be prom king or prom queen. Because that and it's all about having sex at the prom these days and spending lots of money and pretending to be boyfriend and girlfriend. It's like you don't know, just study and get get your grades. But it's
Yeah,
come to the UK as
everything's
well.
everything's fake and gay now. There's no real interactions in it. Everyone's pretending to be something. I mean, the ultimate,
LARPing.
yeah, the
I
ultimate
finally
laugh.
understood the meaning of the word.
Yeah. I mean, the ultimate laugh is like you're a female, so but you're actually male, but you know you dress as a female, and this is the other thing which the feminists don't understand is most of them are being controlled by men. They're being controlled by men in dresses. Um, you know, or gay men. I mean, that's the majority of the fashion industry now. Is everything's designed in terms of women's fashion by gay men. And that's why the models are so skinny and have no tits. Is because that's the ultimate sort of prize for a gay man is a young man that looks like a woman.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
yeah.
basically psychology and regulation. So basically, you were saying, oh, is it controlled by these people and those people, but actually, the control is not transparent. So it's like because
Mm.
men can pretend to be women and you can get ostracized for being transphobic. Nobody knows their own pecking order, and we need to know because we need to know whether we're high status or low status so that we can adjust our behavior to fit in, right? That's it's instinctive. So you get these expressions of the desire to find our pecking order by calling each other out for hate speech, uh, calling each other heretics if we're religious, calling each other traitors if we're being political. Um, but of course, in every generation, the words change, and a lot of people don't really understand it. You know, it,
Mm.
but it's the same thing. When Muslims call each other out, like, oh, you're a heretic because you said this and you think that. In the West, people who are woke do it too. You said this, it means you're misogynist, fascist, transphobe, you know, homophobe, etc. And the only thing that can settle this these rules is to have a theocracy, because in a theocracy at least it stays the same, or it's meant to stay the same from generation to generation. Otherwise, our values and the rules will be always changed by those in Parliament who control
Mm.
the legislature. But then, it's like, for the average Westerner, democracy is their God. So you can't question it without being called a Nazi or a fascist.
Yeah, I mean, the liberal world order is kind of
It's coming
fake
to an end.
gay
Yeah,
in some ways.
it's not codified. And by codified I mean, reduced to a list of rules. And and you can see the contrast, like, Judaism and Islam, it's all codified, like 10 commandments, 13 principles of Judaism, 5 pillars of Islam, so you can list them. And so you'll kind of think, oh well, is Rob, if we're both Jewish, do you accept the 13 principles? Do you apply them? Blah, blah, blah. But, for Christians, they don't have a codified list of principles. So,
The
so therefore, they have no
33,
principles.
the 33 elders of Zion.
No, I actually,
They're all spells. They're all spells. The numbers that we
no, because if you number them, then you
666.
can count them on your fingers, right? Have I listed all, 5 of them or 10 of them or whatever? So you'll know. But if it's never even counted, then who knows? So it's like, conservatism is gay marriage in the UK now, right? Because Cameron, who was a Conservative Prime Minister, made marriage gay, and said, it should be extended to gay people, and that it was conservative. And it's like he got away with it because there are no rules in conservatism. There's no official handbook in conservatism or liberalism or Christianity. Actually, no rules at all. They just make it up as they go along. And,
Yeah.
and that's why, you keep having these culture wars.
Yeah. I don't know. It's I mean, like I said,
Well, I know it's
living
hard for you guys to
liberation.
accept, because it's like, I know I'm saying, Christianity was wrong and liberalism was wrong, but
No, no,
these are
no.
not.
I don't disagree with you, Claire. It's just like, well,
You
okay.
can't say
I
it. You
mean, we
can't
talked
say it
about.
in
Hold
polite
on, hold on,
society.
hold
I
on, hold on,
know.
hold on, hold on, hold on. So, if we talk about the feudal system, for instance, everyone knew their place. Yeah, is this not true in the feudal system? Or
Sure.
all right, so, but the equally to the peasant or whatever, the lowest of the low knew their place. The highest of the high, it's seemingly on paper, this is kind of the romantic view, they know their place as well. In other words, they have a noblesse oblige to the lower classes, and it's their role to know the worth of what they rule over, right?
Hmm. That's how
Okay.
it's supposed to work, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is my thing, because your whole thing is like take control and ultimate rules and whatever. But my thing is like, how do we make sure that those that take control know that they need to, you know, um, submit themselves to whatever, the stonemason, the artist, the ones that drive culture below them, or whatever, not even
You
culture,
need to
just
you need to
physical,
make them
physical, space.
okay. So you're basically saying we already know that our ruling classes are corrupt and incompetent. What is
Yeah.
what is there to stop these people from getting to the top or remaining there? That is your question, is it not?
Well, no. I mean, that's not my question. My question is, if you were the dictator of the UK, how do we stop you from being one of these fuckheads that is already a dictator of the UK? How do we bring you in line, right? Because
Right.
I'm never gonna be that person. Okay, you possibly, maybe by some kind of
Well, I mean,
legal fucking trick, but like, how do we make sure that we're okay? Like,
the only
mm,
way you can police my morals as people who are
yeah, but
under
you're the one
me
who's writing the
is
moral.
is is to make me um, is for all of us to agree to an official moral system, meaning that we will say, this is our moral system and these are the principles of our moral system. Right, and this is what we're going to follow. And then your next question is, what if we don't follow it? What if you don't follow it? And I'm saying, yeah, well, if people below don't follow it, there is well, the force of the law. Um, but it first has to be agreed to. So it's like this moral system, we're going to be doing things like this, and we're supposed to believe in, you know, X, and we're supposed to be doing Y, and our values are Z. So once we agree on this, then everybody will know what it's supposed to be. So okay, here's an extreme example. Supposing I'm the leader of the Nazis, right? And everybody knows what a Nazi is supposed to be. We don't like Jews, and we don't, I am the Führer, for example,
Yeah.
hypothetically, and then everybody's happy because nobody likes Jews, and they want to, expel them, etc. And then suddenly I think, ooh, I think I'd like to be nice to Jews now. I think we should invite them back into the country
Yeah.
and treat them as honored guests and let
Mm.
them run our judiciary, our media, our banking. Let's do that. So, what do you think the people below?
Hold on, hold on. Are you just describing the history of civilization here?
No, 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 no.
Of
I'm
European
saying that
civilization?
uh,
Is that what you're doing?
no, 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 no. Just listen. So I said, everybody knows what a Nazi is. Nazis don't like Jews, right? And if I were to, um, if we were to become a Nazi state, and then I decided to be nice to Jews, the people below would know, right, that I have done a U-turn on being mean to Jews,
Okay.
and they would then know that something's wrong. Do you see? But but
No,
but if it
because
would
if
ne-
they did know, you still have the power, so it doesn't matter whether they know at that
okay,
point.
but this is a different thing. When will the perception come when you think, oh, the leadership is making marriage gay, but he's a conservative. The Nazi leader is going out of her way or his way to be nice to Jews. But we're not supposed to like Jews. I wonder what's going on. Do
Hmm.
you see what then you refer to the rules. It's like, you're playing a game, um, and you're supposed to know what the rules are, because if you don't know the rules, you won't know the objectives, and you don't know what you can do and what you can't do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
No,
don't
no,
know. Maybe
and
we should
for the British, it's even worse, and also bad for those in British territories like Australians, Canadians, and New
satellite
Zealanders.
states. Yeah.
Yeah, because the British don't have a constitution, so they've been selling. The British government has been selling to the British people that they have this wonderful, magic, invisible thing called the unwritten constitution, but it means they don't have a constitution. So even if you were to go to the best constitutional lawyer in the land and ask him what your rights are, Parliament could change. the rules,
Yeah.
anytime. So this is what people don't understand. Not, I don't think even lawyers understand that, or they don't want to talk about it. I mean, what I'm doing is doing the equivalent of the boy in the Emperor's New Clothes.
Mm.
We never knew. We don't know what happened to that boy, do we?
Well, I mean, I don't think he was executed, but who knows?
Well, I bet his mum was very embarrassed and said a few words.
Yeah, I mean, he stood up. He was a little bit schizo, a little bit of an autist, an
Or
incel,
just,
perhaps.
yes, and because he was a boy, he probably wasn't executed. But I guess an adult would. No, there's actually a background to that story, because it wasn't just all the people just because okay, the background to it was that it was said that only those who were illegitimate would not be able to see the clothes on the emperor.
All
I
right,
mean,
interesting.
yeah.
So, divine intervention, or
No, I mean it's a great story. This suggests to me that this sort of thing has happened before.
well, that's like every great story. I mean, that's the archetypes that we live under. Everything has happened before. This is kind of the delusion of liberalism, and like we're progressing through history to some kind of great utopia. It's all bullshit. I mean, everything has happened. No,
Yeah,
I mean,
yes, because liberalism is a progressive ideology, and the belief of liberalism. You've heard of the Whig interpretation of history, haven't you?
yeah.
So basically, the idea is that we're going to keep progressing until we get to liberal heaven, and we will have, the perfect amount of liberty, and we're all happy because of our liberty,
Mm,
right? And what the uh, state is doing is to um, reduce our political liberties of speech and expression by giving us sexual liberation from the rules of marriage and good parenting. That's
mm.
what they're doing. They're trying to distract us with hedonism. They're saying, you're feeling a bit anxious, depressed, have another drink, have more sex.
Have a pill.
Yes,
Have an antidepressant.
exactly.
live,
Don't bother your pretty little head about the truth and
live in
logic
the
and
world of
morality.
1984.
Yeah, it's like, what are you worrying about? We're all going to be dead anyway, won't we? Might as well enjoy it. YOLO.
And if you're a little bit too old and you're suffering a little bit, maybe we can put you in a suicide pod,
Yes, well, you wouldn't
which
want
is
to be a
already happening
burden on
now
your
in
children,
Sweden and
if you
Canada.
had any, would you?
Yeah. On fucking mass, by the way, in Canada. I think there's been like at least 500 suicide by suicide
Yes,
by.
and
I don't
it's
know why I
all
thought
to
of that.
do, it's
By
all to do,
medical establishment.
yeah. Yeah, the thing is, the medical establishment are just, well, if you pay us, we'll do it, just like everyone else. If you say it's okay, big government, and you pay us, well, why wouldn't we go along with it? What are principles for anyway? What are
Yeah.
principles for? You can't wear them, you can't fuck them, you can't eat them or drink them. What are they for?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just sometimes I think it's beyond me, you know what I mean?
No,
I'm
it's
just
not beyond you, because you've been so helpful in considering these questions. Um, and but you're still a pagan. You're still not not understanding that. I mean, there is a reason why the Abrahamic religions are so powerful because they're more capable of organized violence than the Hindus or Buddhists or the pagans for that matter. Okay, I know that the Romans and the Greeks were pagans, right? Because that
Mm.
was what they were. But the Romans flipped over to Christianity in the end.
Oh, I just thought of something I wanted to ask you. This is going to be totally. We're changing gears here, right? I don't know if you wanted to change gears now, but
It's your show. It's your Koraniyule.
it is increasing, Khalid. Yes, it's getting kind of to the point where anyone can do it if they
There's
so
already
desire.
child
A
euthanasia.
sweet kiss of death, you know. And whether it's AI controlled or it's just sort of someone gives.
Yeah, you know what they're doing.
I've seen this meme where they put you in a high tech pod and you're like, all right, it's gonna be like heaven, you know. I'm gonna like pass away and like look at the clouds or whatever. And
Have you watched
then it turns
Soylent
out they
Green?
close the door and some like big dude just comes in and chokes you to death. Like the AI computer didn't even function.
You're a movie buff, Rob. You're a
Yeah,
movie
you're
buff.
in a
Have
pod,
you?
but you've just been fucking, you know, I don't know, like it gets dark real quick.
You're a movie buff. Have you seen Soylent Green?
Yeah. Silent Green's an absolute classic, Claire. Thank you for bringing
Yeah,
it up.
because of these suicide sessions.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Well, you apply for it, right? That was what the
they're
old guy
eating
did.
people. Yeah, it's a classic.
They're eating people and encouraging people to commit suicide. So this is what they're doing. It's like we're a bad batch of defective products from the factory, and
Mm.
they're putting us in the scrap heap.
We're all biological machines in the atheist new world order. There's no inherent value to a human. We're just a product on a spreadsheet that, you know, has certain opinions that need to be shut down. And we
Well,
need to put those in a different column, you know what I mean?
if you think about it, we're actually the slaves of our government. I mean, it was very clear in Christendom when subjects were just expected to follow the religion of their king or else. But I mean, so it is and a certain form. Basically, what does the government think it's doing? It's breeding humans, right? It's breeding us, and it's always been accepted that patriarchy is a better breeding program than matriarchy, and that's why all advanced civilizations supported marriage, because it's like, yeah, we want you to breed, but we don't want you to be degenerate, so we're going to encourage monogamy because monogamy produces the most stable kind of society, and then you can all, every boy will have a girl, and there'll be no fighting and
Give me
raping.
a second. By the way, patriarchal and matriarchal societies have nothing to do with breeding, and governments don't have a breeding program. That's complete bullshit. So anyway, I'll be back in a sec.
Well, of course they have a breeding program in the sense that they want um, well, if you're the British government, the expectation is that they want, you know, um, British people to exist from generation to generation. That is assumed until recently, when they just want us to commit suicide or die childless, transgender, or gay. So their attitude is changing now. towards us. They don't want us to marry, they don't want us to have children, and they want us to commit suicide. What does that tell you, boys and girls? They're getting rid of us because we are defective. I guess, ending this line of production. I think this is the only way to understand what's happening. We're just a bad batch and destined for the scrap heap. But are they starting with a new batch under produced under better conditions? I don't think so. I don't think they're even thinking in those terms.
You've been very contradictory recently. So anyway, so hold on. So governments breed humans? Is this the thesis, or what's going on here?
Well, any country would want itself to be peopled, yes?
Yeah, so after the last 50, 70, 80, 100 years of liberalism, suddenly every culture in the world, every people in the world that have declining birth rates, right?
Because of
So
feminism.
so yeah, because of feminism. Was feminism prolific in China for the last 100 years? It turns out it wasn't actually. South Korea? Oh no, it wasn't really, was it? Iran? I don't think so. So what's going on there, Claire?
Feminism is basically women bribing
Feminism is
men with,
only
with, with, with
prolific in the West.
extramarital sex.
The
That's what
whole world's
feminism is.
birth rates are declining.
Yes, because feminism is
It's not
operates.
all over the world. It's only in the
Yes,
West.
you know the Japanese birth rate is declining. They have the highest average thage of
Yeah,
all
because
of all
they're a
societies.
conquered culture. They're a satellite
Yeah,
state of the
and
US
and as a
after
conquered
nukes,
culture,
right? I don't know if you heard of the nukes that happened to
yeah,
Japan.
I know. So
Yeah,
Japan,
that's why. It's not because of feminism.
you don't think America forced Japan to adopt its values and its system of government?
Okay, let's talk about America.
Yeah,
So,
and you
so
don't,
hold on. So, do you think America is a feminist society?
of course,
So, why didn't they elect a female president? That twice they had that opportunity.
because they didn't like it. But the point
It's
is that
not a feminist society.
okay,
If they were ruled by
you
feminists, there would be
no,
a
no, you
female
don't
president. Am I
understand.
wrong? Hold on. Am I wrong here?
Yes, you are, because let's define matriarchy and patriarchy. Patriarchy is a society. It's a society prioritizing the preferences of married parents who want to properly parent their legitimate offspring. You're going to say, oh, a patriarchy is ruled by men. No, no, I'm
This
saying
is the
it's a
whole liberal
society.
myth, Claire. This is the whole you're doing the whole the black people thing. You're doing the whole thing where you know if there was a a white ruling class, black people wouldn't be able to go to the store or whatever. Turns out, actually the whole culture of America has been turned into rap and fucking whatever it is, right? It's not white culture anymore,
I don't
right?
know. Okay, I don't know why you're talking about that. Culture is a
Well,
product
that's
of
an
law.
example of what you're saying.
No,
Because
I don't accept it.
you're
Why?
saying the females have longhouse males to the point globally where we're not breeding. What I'm saying is that's not the reason why we're not breeding. Feminism is not the reason.
What is the reason?
It's because, it's because of A, technology, and it's because of B, the pill, right? Another technology. And C, It's because of foreign influence in terms of someone has a plan to
Okay.
subvert our
Okay.
societies.
I have a simpler and more coherent narrative. So if you define feminism as um, women bribing men with extramarital sex, then it all makes sense because then all these countries allow this to some extent because they don't treat unmarried parents as sex offenders. And, and feminists will never agree to treat unmarried parents as sex offenders because that would, stop their operations. So they'll never do that. But there are male
Who
feminists
the
too.
fuck is this Khalid guy? I'm not a fucking fascist, bruh. Right?
Okay.
That's the first thing. We can have a conversation, but holy shit, dude.
What, you want to have a conversation with him now? That's
No,
possible.
no, no. I'm just saying, like, he's completely off track.
But you did say you were fascist, or you were accused of being a fascist. But what is a fascist? You see, all
Those
these
who
words,
are those who are accused always guilty?
I would define fascism as the desire for national unity and nationalism as government in the national interest.
Are you a fascist?
I've been accused of being a fascist, but I mean,
Well, there you
what did
go.
the what fascists want anyway? They wanted, they wanted to reject liberalism. And it's like liberalism is actually a religion that isn't acknowledged, and that's why these liberals get so triggered when people reject it, and that's why they have to call us names
There
and
are
imply
some
that we're
benefits to
heretics.
liberalism, though.
Well,
I
can't
mean, not
it's
all of
acknowledged?
liberalism is bad. I
Well,
mean,
I think
like
so.
private property is, probably the most liberal thing that ever came out of the English way of life, and
Are you
that
saying
is the least liberal thing now. Frankly,
I think other cultures allow the right to property.
eventually they did, but I think the English were first.
Well, I mean, if you forbid theft, it means you understand the right to property, don't you?
Hmm,
So
not land
it's
rights though.
well, it says Africa acknowledged it. Okay, maybe it doesn't go into the history, but I'm basically saying that the concept of theft is commensurate with the idea of property. So
The
if you're
solution to population decline is cultural strength. Is the belief that your culture is strong and worthy of breeding, which is lacking in the world, all the world over. People don't
well,
have a sense of themselves anymore because they lack historical knowledge and they lack a sense of their own culture, their own evolution within their own culture. It's not about imposing, higher rules on the people. It's propaganda to a certain extent, but it's also waking them up to their own self, to realizing that they have a past. That's the solution.
why not
To,
just
to make them understand that they have their own story within history, and they always have. And the reason why they exist is because their story was successful.
Well, all cultures, or all the five world religions that you have heard of, um, protect and maintain the institution of marriage and support marriage and family values. But
Mhm,
Christianity is the
mhm,
weakest
mhm,
link,
mhm. But it
and
wasn't because
feminism
of it
undermines
wasn't
marriage.
because of the religion though.
Why not?
This is where you're wrong. The
How?
religion was a product of their culture.
How
And
can you prove this is so chicken and egg? I don't
it
see how you
is,
can.
it is.
Yeah. So
But I think it's very obvious because I'll tell you why it's obvious. I'll tell you why. Why I can why did Gen X, why was Nirvana a thing? We talked about Nirvana and you never realized who Nirvana was, right? We're talking
of
about
course I'd
the
heard of
dude
Nirvana before I met you.
shot his head off with a shotgun, right?
Yes.
So they lost faith in their culture. These young Gen X kids, yeah.
Did he
They
leave a
said
suicide
they
note?
thought burn it all down.
Yeah, because of their atheism, I would have thought. Because
But
if
where
you
does
were,
it come from?
it,
Why
it comes from
why
liberalism. Liberalism was a rejection of Christianity, and people didn't realize that liberalism is our religion. That's why they hate Trump so much. They think Trump is a heretic to liberalism. That's why they want to kill him, because he's, going to destroy the liberal order.
No, that's not why. It's not why at all. It's
How do you
because
know?
it's because he has a sense of himself and he does what he does and he thinks what he thinks and he says what
He's
he
the
thinks.
alpha male that
Yes,
threatens
but
the
where does that come
matriarchy.
from? Yeah, but the matriarchy will always sit down in the face of an alpha male. There's no chance they won't. And
Yeah,
if they're totally brainwashed into it, they will just like move on and attack him from the bleachers. They'll never participate in the game. They're out of the game at that point.
yeah. The matriarchy will be, um, well, trying to preserve their power, and will try all kinds of ways to hang on to it. That's what it's doing. That's why, two attempts so far have been made on to assassinate Trump. More attempts may be made. They're really scared because they know that Trump is going to change a few things.
Mm. So I've got, well, if I can remember them, two stories for you. One is uh, so in Fish Tank there was this pedophile that came in. He was a flamboyant gay man, right? This is a microcosm of culture. Stay with me here. I'm cooking. So, and they invited a whole heap of other vapid people in at the time. So, Sam Hyde and others presented the evidence that he was a pedophile and basically showed them visually that this shit happened, right? That he was guilty of these crimes, right? And the females, because of their lack of the ability to start start that's an AA point. You should maybe join the AA crowd, Claire. Culture is a product of law. Bullshit. Where does law come from? How can you make a law if a culture doesn't exist? Bullshit. Anyway, um, uh, these females protected him really to the point where they would sacrifice their own place in the game. Some of them were voted off, some of them were kicked out, and they still protected this pedophile who was controlling the house for like a week, right? And the evidence was clear to everyone until one man stood up, Luke. He was a handsome man, Christian man, a moral man, and he didn't care what they said. He didn't care how much social pressure was put down upon him. He stood up for his principles and he called him out directly. And even then, they defended this pedophile. Even then, the host had to step in and kick him out. So this is the longhouse in action, boys. This is what it is. This is how apparently we're run by feminists in society right now.
So, just to make sure I've got the details clear, Fish Tank is an exploitative drama documentary or game show where participants, it's like Big Brother, but more low class, and people get to support their favorite characters who are usually down and out, and people who are not the most successful people in the world. And you say there was a Christian there and there was a pedophile there, and the women wanted to keep the pedophile, and the rest of the group agreed to keep the pedophile and ignore the Christian. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, the whole exploitative / game show thing is bullshit. It's a live show. It's raw. It's on the internet. It's not lower class, but it is, I guess, presenting to the lower classes what they know about in the world just because of the contestants that come on or whatever. In fact, it's a high art form, the whole thing. It's incredibly subtle and incredibly. It's almost like, the kings and the queens playing with their court in that way. So it's not really a lower class thing. But anyway, so you basically kind of boiled it down to a certain extent. Um,
I have to answer the door. Could you just carry on?
sure,
Khalid has asked you a lot of questions, so you can talk while I'm gone. Okay.
sure. Well, I don't know where the chat is or whatever. Maybe I can look at the comments. Do we have comments? Oh, all right, here we go. So we got Khalid again. Hi, Khalid. You're a Muslim, obviously. Maybe brainwashed. Religion have always say, okay, maybe you should learn how to type English. Religions have always been a counter to culture. I agree with that, actually. I don't know if you know that cultures exists and have existed without um, Abraham or Moses or Jesus or Muhammad. I don't know if you knew that, but they did exist and they were functional. Muhammad and their other prophets were persecuted by their societies. Oh, like Aristotle or any other philosopher in Greece. They were persecuted, right? Okay, so that makes them right instantly. Then I guess as long as the masses persecute them, they're correct. Incredible point. Obviously not true. Religions are counterculture, Islam, and again, okay, whatever, right? Do I have kids? Is that the worth of a man to have kids? I mean, maybe. I mean, maybe I have some kids. I've definitely had a few flings back in the day that weren't, you know, ratified by the state. So maybe there are some kids running around out there. I don't know. That would be interesting. I've answered the question about population control. Do you have a sense of self? Well, obviously, I have more of a sense of self than you because you are a slave to Allah. So, where are yourself? Where's yourself? Apparently, it's non-existent because um, you know, you've made yourself available to, I guess, a
But
god,
Rob,
a
if,
sky
if,
god.
if we are all, if just supposing we were all created by God and are all the slaves of God, would it be better to know this or not know this?
Well, a that's not actually what like. Okay, a god would rather we wouldn't be slaves. B,
No.
God didn't create us all. Multiple gods created us.
How do you know? You can't prove that.
Well, it's fairly obvious because why else would there be conflict in the world?
Well, God never promised us a rose garden. It's like, well, paradise is later when you have passed the examination, right?
That's
And this
exactly my
life
point.
is
That's
but
exactly
an
my point.
examination.
That's exactly my point. So if there was one God, he would create everyone like equally, right? No? Or
No, no, no. The idea is that he created the universe and humanity, and he has communicated with us twice through the Torah and the Quran. And since we think we're
but
so
not
clever,
the Zohar, right?
no, the Torah is the first five books of the Pentateuch.
Or or Kabbalah.
Well, the Zohar is the Kabbalah, basically, but let's
Yeah.
not talk
So
about
but
the
he didn't
Kabbalah.
communicate us through that. That's just for weirdos who live like
It's
in their
basically
bedroom and want to discover math or something.
it's
Or
Jewish
communicate with
mysticism.
demons.
It's Jewish mysticism, and it's not,
Sure, but mysticism isn't really God, is it? That's just kind of an offshoot. That kind of just happened, did it? Or is there a devil that also writes books?
no, no. I don't know why you're talking about the Zohar because that's not from God, and it's Jewish mysticism, which is all in the realm of speculation. And actually, Orthodox rabbis say Jews are not even supposed to know about the Zohar. They certainly shouldn't start studying it until they are over 40.
So in the beginning was the word, right?
I don't even know what that means, but anyway,
Exactly. Why don't you know what that means?
because it's nonsense.
But that's the first book of that's the first
John, Book of
verse
John. John,
of the
who the hell
fucking.
is John? We don't know who he is.
Okay, so anything you say is bullshit then.
No, no, no. It's like, well, if you don't know what it means, don't bloody pretend that you do. But okay. So my entire system is like, let's not
Amazing.
let's not pretend we know.
Are runes real? Do runes have spiritual significance to a people? I don't know. Maybe they're just
No, because it
that's just
doesn't mean anything, and
demonology,
nobody.
is it? Or
Look. I mean, we're veering from the subject. You're saying, nobody knows what these mean. these runes mean? Are they readable? Okay, there's some ancient stuff that's left around and nobody quite knows what they mean.
No
Why
one
don't we
knows
just
what
stick? Why don't
no
we
one
just
knows
stick
what the
to
Greek
subjects? Why
philosophers
don't
said.
we just
That's all.
stick to
That's all
subjects?
complete.
Why don't we just
No
stick
one
to
knows what the
subjects?
Greek
Why don't we
philosophers
stick
said,
to
who were
subjects?
pagans.
Why
No
don't
one
we
knows what
stick to
they said.
subjects?
No one
Why don't
understands
we
any
stick to
Greek
subjects?
philosopher.
Why don't we? Why don't we?
No one knows
Why don't we?
Plato's plays.
Why don't
No
we?
one knows
Why
the
don't
most
we? Why
prolific
don't we?
story
Why
on the
don't you
universe,
fucking
which is
shut
Plato's
up,
cave.
Rob? Why don't you shut up for a
Come
moment?
on. Come on, be real here. Come on.
Real about what? What? Why do you want to divert the subject to runes that
I'm
you
not
don't know
diverting it.
anything
That's
about?
the whole point. I'm digging into the subject, and you don't want to
No,
dig
no,
in.
you're distracting. We were talking about things we could be coming to a conclusion about, but you chose
Thank
to
God
talk
we're
about
not coming
stuff
to a
that we.
conclusion. Thank God.
What's wrong? What's wrong with the coming to a conclusion?
I don't know. Maybe then we're understanding
Because
each
that
other.
would mean action, right? It would
Maybe
mean,
we're
oh, we have
communicating
to
with
do
each other.
stuff, and this is what you wish to
Communication,
avoid.
right?
This is what you wish to avoid, isn't it? Decision,
Tell me what I
conclusion,
wish to avoid.
decision, and action. This is what you
Tell me
wish
what I
to
wish to
avoid.
avoid, please.
Action. You wish to avoid action. You laugh as somebody who's some kind of warrior. You're gagging to go to join the good fight, but you won't even discuss ideas without wanting to derail the discussion.
I just okay.
You were, we were talking
You're the
about.
one who doesn't want to discuss ideas.
Okay, so you want to talk
You
about
just want
runes.
to
You don't
you
know
just want
anything
to
about runes,
implement
but you
your
want to talk.
laws.
You want to waffle about them. Okay, carry on waffling about runes. What do you want to say about runes?
See,
What can
that
you
was
tell us about
communication right there.
runes?
That was communication right there. See what happened there, Claire? It's like lovers who first meet and then they argue and then they, end up fucking because they're so annoyed with each other. Right? This is passion. This is how humans interact. This is the real world. Think about that. I think you've muted yourself. It doesn't matter. I hope that we can somehow revive our birth rates. I also
How
hope
can you
that
do that
somehow we
without
can
actually supporting
maintain
marriage?
our soul.
How are you going to do that if you won't
Yeah,
even
through
think
your
the
system,
thought?
obviously. There's no other answer. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I'll fall in line. I'll be your soldier. Whatever. It doesn't.
Oh, thank you, Rob. Um, are you going to buy the book? At least.
I've downloaded the book from an illicit source.
Oh,
I've been
great.
reading some of it, but you know,
You have. I'm
it's
so gratified.
it's something.
Well, it's
We
short
have
and
Dr.
sweet.
Mengler in chat. Amazing.
He's an Aussie too. We've known each other
Beautiful
for
name.
years.
So
Yes.
right. So anyway, so in the beginning was the word. Is this not in
It's a book
your?
of John.
Yeah.
Genesis is
Is
something
that part
different.
of? Sure. Whatever. Part of
Okay, so it says, "In the
your-
beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." That's the first sentence of Genesis. Okay,
Mhm.
but in the beginning, there was a word. Word. What um, in the beginning of what? We don't know. But okay, the book of John is New Testament, and because it wasn't even claimed by Christians to have been written by God, we can dismiss most of it. Unless it actually makes complete sense. But this is a kind of.
Interesting. So what makes sense then in the Quran? Is it just like Muhammad's weird psychedelic thoughts, or is there substance?
I thought you said you had a copy, so I don't know why. obviously you've never read it.
Muhammad was a warrior, right?
Yes, he was a successful political and military leader.
Probably what that he was your idol. He's the greatest.
No, but
No, he's not the greatest man to ever exist.
well, the fact that he's successful means that but the thing is, he never uh, performed a miracle. This is what Christians like to say about Muhammad. He never performed a single miracle, but that is the great thing about it. He managed it, presumably with just the advice of Allah. That how he managed to sort things out. He didn't turn
Mm.
water into wine or any of that jazz. He didn't walk on water. He just won battles when outnumbered.
It's a little bit like Alexander the Great.
Yeah, I mean, a good biography of Muhammad is by Karen Armstrong, and it reads like, I don't know, a boy's adventure book or something. I think you might even enjoy it. And
Sure.
and there was a time when he did the equivalent of move into the shed because his wives were being so annoying. He moved out
Yeah. Well,
to get away from his wife.
he made the mistake of taking multiple wives.
Um, Apparently he didn't have sex with all of them. It was the wives, the widows of his fallen companions, and he didn't think he didn't know what to do with them, so he just included them in his household. And if they weren't his wives,
How selfless of the man. How honorable.
yeah, well, that's a story.
Maybe he
I mean,
could have
because they were
like
quite
married
elderly. I
them
mean,
off to his soldiers.
well, they were,
Right? That would be the
middle
nice thing
aged
to
or
do for the
something.
poor men that existed under him.
I think the story was that they were over 40 and not women of childbearing age, and so
Jesus Christ. Imagine talking to 40-year-olds. 40-year-old women in your ear every day. Jesus fucking Christ.
I think he
No
had
wonder he
12 of
wrote
them
the
or
Quran.
something. Yeah, so I guess in a way he was quite saintly because really, look, I
He
managed
was
to
a,
to
he was a very it sounds like a very liberal man. He was like living in a polycule.
well, I think he just accommodated them to give them status. Otherwise, they would be what his cook, his maid, his whatever, and
Yeah, at
probably
least give them jobs.
he
Jesus
probably
Christ. A bunch
yeah.
of yapping women in the court? Fuck that. Give them at least a job.
Yeah, so as
Man.
his wives, they would be expected to do a bit of cooking and cleaning and
Yeah,
looking
well,
after
give them
children
a
and stuff
fucking
like that.
role. My God.
Yeah,
They're gonna get bored real quick. Surprised they
yeah.
didn't end up fucking each other. Did that happen? Is that in the Quran?
What, lesbian orgies? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Like the Eleusinian mysteries. Probably a bunch of virgins on the top of what was it, the mountain in Greece. They just did
Maybe you're talking
psychedelics and
about the
fucked.
Vestal Virgins.
Yeah.
Well, you know what happened to the Vestal Virgins as the Roman Empire declined. So at first they had to be
Oh
virgins and they
God,
had to be
what
members
happened?
of
This is going to be a horrifying story. I know it. Tell me,
yeah, and
please.
well, it's on Wikipedia, but it's quite amusing. So at first they had to be women of the aristocracy, and they had to be virgins, and then in the end they didn't even have to be virgins, and they could be plebs.
Oh, lowering of standards. So,
Indeed, and this is what happens to all empires. They become a victim of their own success. So what happens is when you think you're
yeah.
militarily supreme and nobody's going to invade you, you think you're going to let your hair down and let everything hang out and enjoy a bit of free love, right?
Yeah.
and you see, oh, I've just had sex with my pet, but the sky didn't fall in. I had sex with my grandmother and my, it's like, who cares what? But by the time it begins to have an adverse effect, you will be so morally and intellectually corrupt that you'll say, oh, it doesn't matter, we're all gonna die anyway, let's just carry on enjoying our sex and drugs and rock and roll.
Happened to the Habsburgs, a bit of incest, keep the wealth in the family sort of thing.
Yeah. So the great thing about these divine revelation is that it's like a roadmap. You carry it in your car. Well, in the olden days before sat nav, and then you get lost, but you still drive around for ages and ages and ages before you decide to stop and look at the map.
Mm.
This is kind
Empires
of what it
run
is.
in a cycle.
Yeah, we think we'll just round the corner something better will turn up, and you'll see the correct sign pointing the right way to your destination, but it keeps sort of the destinations keeps looking stranger and stranger. Sodom and Gomorrah and matriarchy and woke and all kinds of strange destinations and euthanasia and Soylent Green and
It's
AI.
like the tale of Atlantis.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think it's actually the easiest thing to correct ourselves. The easiest thing, because Western media is still all powerful, really. They just need a different narrative. I think I could just fix it with an interview.
Yeah,
But I
well,
know,
hopefully.
yeah, I think talking about AI, I mean, AI has been quite polite about secular Quranism, and people seem to know about it, even though they don't like it.
Do you think
Look,
AI is like actually like real, or do you think it's just like program?
yeah, it has to be programmed, but I mean, obviously, it's smarter than all of us. But it will be the human hand that pulls its plug, right? And
Hopefully. But honestly, though, do you think it's like smarter because it's faster and it can trawl through the internet to come up with answers, in, you know, 2 seconds versus like 3 hours a human does it?
exactly,
So it's
and then
smarter because it's faster. It's not smarter, it's just faster, right?
well, it's quite smart in that it can replace lawyers, writers, artists,
Because it's faster.
musicians.
Because
Yeah,
it's
and
faster.
and, and, and they sound all right. I know you sneer at AI music, but I think some of it is all right. Um, and it's art, and even the Hollywood writers' strike was because the writers' union were frightened by how quickly AI can produce a plot line or a play or any kind
It's
of
all
story.
based off human capital, though. There's nothing
Yeah.
nuanced.
I mean, obviously, without humans, there would be no AI.
Do you think this? Do you think the simulation theory is real? Then that we live in a simulation because if AI or humans could create a perfect simulation, then we do live under one because the chances that we live in a timeline where it didn't happen are very slim, right? That's the argument. Do you think so? Therefore, if AI is real and humans have the capability to make a universe that is cybernetic, and we will live in this universe. If that prospect is real, then we already do live in a simulation. Elon actually legitimately thinks this is true. At least that's what he says, right? What do you think about this?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that there are online communities, right? And we treat our online communities differently to, people we know in real life. It's a different kind of relationship. We tell um, people online to different things to people we know in real life. So it already exists. And we most of us have negotiated our ways around this, and find it useful because obviously it's the quickest way to find people who share your interests online by typing a few search words, and you tell these people things you would never dream of telling people in real life. But I
Yeah.
guess
So
the older form of it.
what's the like? What's we're talking about? If we bring up the Emperor's New Clothes story again, how do we know, right? How do we know that the Emperor is wearing clothes now? Because we live in cyberspace to a certain extent.
Um, are you sort of doing the Cartesian thing of, how do we know anything for certain? Oh, I know. I think, therefore I am. Is this kind of what you're going on about?
Well, no, I'm going on about simulation theory, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I think maybe you don't believe it, but all I'm saying is I don't think you should put faith in AI because I don't think it's as real as you think it is.
What do you mean by real? It exists, therefore we talk about it.
Yeah, but
Are are you,
it's not it's not a human. It doesn't have emotional depth. It's not it can produce art, sure. It can produce music, whatever, right? But it's trawling through the history of humanity to produce this. It doesn't come up with anything on its own accord. And I'm not sure if it ever will. I pray to God that it never will, because if it does, then suddenly we're all fucked.
well, it's creative in that it creates works of art, and it creates music. So,
Yeah, but it's not creating it, Claire. Please. I mean, come on. Do you hear what you're saying? If you honestly think it's creating it out of like how humans create things, you're honestly thinking that then suddenly, in 50, 60 years' time, like we will be slaves to it. I mean, that's the
well, in the
inevitability
sense that
of your thinking, right? No?
in the sense that we become dependent on it and
In the
lose our
sense that it
ability to
in the sense
research
that it
things.
will, like a demon in a witch's coven, it will
Are you
uh,
just basically saying it will reach, it has consciousness, and
it will seduce us, is what I'm saying.
no, I'm saying that even if it never attains self-consciousness, we can become too dependent on it, and there's that danger because
Okay, well,
but,
that's not what I thought you were saying, but
okay, have you read the are you
because what
aware?
I'm saying is, I think you think it's creating things, and what I'm saying is, it's not creating things. That's just an illusion.
Well, I'm saying is creating original work that didn't exist before. I don't see how you can deny that, unless you deny that the Hollywood writers were striking over nothing.
Okay, well, Hollywood was dead from, I don't know, fucking since the 1960s or something. So, but yeah, no, I agree. I
No, I
just
mean,
think you shouldn't put faith in AI, is what I'm
I,
saying.
I'm not. I'm not. I mean, SJJ was saying, "Oh, we could turn evil and decide to destroy human civilization," and I'm saying, um, it's still at our disposal because we can turn we can pull the plug on it, except that we ourselves become addicted to it the way we become addicted to our phones and maybe go a bit crazy if we go to somewhere where it doesn't have Wi-Fi or, whatever, because we're scared to be not connected with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
It's a kind of behavioral addiction, and I can predict how it might be used to um, watch over us. So you can imagine, everybody, in future has to have their own AI and it will answer our questions. So, the state could, in theory, know everything about us because it knows every question we ever asked AI.
Yeah, like neural link. We can be jacked in like the Matrix. We can live in the real world, but also in the Matrix 24/7.
Well, that's a bit fanciful, but the idea is that yeah, yes, it's new technology and people are afraid of it, but ultimately, people do talk about AI as if it were God because people say, well, AI says this, AI says that, and I know I say that too sometimes. Like AI agrees with me, or whatever,
Yeah.
and most of the time it is reliable, except when it isn't. But how do we tell when it isn't being reliable? So we need our own research skills. We need to, be able to confirm whether something it says is true or not. And I'm saying, yeah, we can do that. It's not that hard.
Mm.
And as for who controls AI, that is a political matter. It always has been.
What do you think about the concept of the NPC? Have you heard of this meme? Do you know
Yes, it
what I'm
means
talking about?
it means non-player character, the bystander who doesn't participate, the sheeple. That's another word for sheeple, isn't it?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And
So
and and, and then
do you think everyone will become an NPC when AI gets, really prolific? Like, a classic example is some people are like now falling in love with their AI girlfriend on their phone, and they're talking to the phone 24/7. And they won't go out and get a real relationship because they're satisfied with their AI girlfriend, right?
yeah, and that
Yeah.
I think will be eventually banned. Dating apps, AI girlfriends, that sort of thing, it can be easily banned. So many things can be easily banned because we have the state of technology to do that.
Like in June, right? In
And
June, there was this, this AI technology, and there was this. It was called a jihad against the machines. It was called the Butlerian jihad, right? The humans rose up against the machines, and then they banned AI. They banned thinking machines for the rest of their conceivable lives or whatever. Um, do you think this is going to happen now or later? Because I don't know. It's like uh, it's like technology keeps progressing to the point where we are slaves to technology. Um, the latest iPhone, the latest whatever, right? We keep looking at these screens endlessly. We're like hooked in, hopelessly addicted, right? The another word for it is the utilities trap. No, what is it called? Something
Thucydides
trap.
trap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like convenience over a struggle, basically. Um, and humans obviously they choose in general they choose convenience over struggle. So we're like the reproduction device for technology right now. We're the reproduction device for AI. AI will continue to develop, and technology will continue to develop as long as we continue to uh, be immersed in it.
I don't quite know what you mean. I, I think we should go back to the discussion about, you know, paganism. Why are you so keen on paganism?
Okay, well, we spoke about AI and technology before. And my whole thing with paganism, I feel like it's a more natural way for humans to exist. So, spirituality, in terms of like ideas, right, that proliferate society, memes, and so on. When we write this down in books and so on, and we print it, i.e., technology, we proliferate the technology to the masses. Suddenly their minds aren't connected to nature and their community anymore. They're looking elsewhere. They're looking at the opportunity to make millions of dollars, the OnlyFans girl or whatever, right? That's just a brutal example in modern day. But even if you go back to the printing press, so before we, E. Michael Jones says that his whole thing is that the Germans were running around in the woods, hunting pigs or whatever, before the Roman Empire came to their doorstep and enlightened them into the whatever it is, the great good that is, order and society and ideas, and it opens the world up to imagination and whatever, right? And my whole thing is, well, maybe we would have got there on our own, talking to the trees. Maybe
Okay,
we need to read and spread ideas and confuse ourselves, because that's what we did. We confused ourselves with philosophy and technology, and now we're just eating each other on a
okay.
massive scale.
I think you are not aware of um, Leibniz's best of all possible worlds. Have we discussed this? Or maybe we haven't.
I don't know. You sound kind of tired, so
Leibniz.
maybe we should call it here. But if you're cool with it, go with it.
Okay, so Leibniz believed that if God exists, he would have created for us the best of all possible worlds because he is perfectly moral. That was his, you know, view, his concept of the best of all possible worlds. Because if God exists and if he is perfectly moral, he would, and as well as omnipotent and omniscient, all the qualities
Yeah.
of the Abrahamic God, then he would have. So if you believe this, then it means that everything that happened for a reason. And if certain people that certain groups that didn't win, well, they lost for a reason.
Mm.
And you can reconcile that by thinking, well, why did the pagans lose to um, well, actually, there were just different groups of pagans, right? In Europe, there were the Greeks who were pagan, and then they lost to the Romans. Why did the Greeks lose? Because they exhausted themselves in warfare, while the Romans, I guess, they sorted their labor problems out, didn't they? And they were ruthlessly eugenic in their gender relations with their, pater familias. The idea of the head of the household who had the power of life or death over his children, and
Mm.
and, and the idea that after with a month after an infant was born, it would be presented to the pater familias. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the word correctly. So he can do the thumbs up, thumbs down sign. Maybe he doesn't like the
Yeah.
look of it. Maybe it's struggling and won't survive, and he'll say, "Well, take it away and expose it. I don't like the look of it." Or a healthy baby that looks just like me. Let's keep it. So, and also
He,
according to
he
the tape,
borrowed this from the Spartans.
yeah, and according to the tables of Rome, every father had the duty to produce healthy children, meaning that if it was unhealthy, it had to be disposed of. But we
Yeah.
already
They
know that the
also had the
Greeks.
will to keep fighting no matter what.
Well, we know that the Greeks, regularly exposed their unwanted offspring. Because there was always a place for them to go in the woods, and there'd be all these stories of Prince Priam being found by a shepherd and brought up, and if you remember the story of Troy.
Mm.
So Paris was the prince of Troy, whose parents were um, Hecuba and Priam, who was at the time, the king. Anyway, he was born under an unlucky star, and so that his parents were advised to get rid of him. So they, put him, they exposed him. A shepherd came to him and found him and brought him up, and then he met his parents after winning a contest, and they thought, oh, what a fine boy he is. We'll make him ambassador of Troy, and so he
Mm.
went as ambassador to Sparta when he fell in love with Helen of Troy, of Helen of Sparta.
Yeah.
Remember? And then they eloped, and because Helen's husband King Menelaus of Sparta was obviously annoyed that his wife was had been seduced and eloped with him, got the other Greeks to besiege Troy.
Mm.
Yes. So um and actually the citadel of Troy withstood all these 10 years of being besieged by the Greeks, but it was a Trojan horse that meant the end of them, and so the enemy was within. So Cassandra, the daughter of King Priam and Queen Hecuba, said, don't beware of Greeks bearing gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess the Trojan said, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, and brought the Trojan horse in, and
Yeah.
the rest is history. So
Mhm.
so that story basically, uh, I mean, the moral of that story is that the enemy was always within, and obviously the Trojans shouldn't have supported and protected the adulterer.
Yeah. Also, the moral of the story is don't seduce a married woman, and that's you know the the temptation is to because it's easy. So boys, if you're listening, don't go for a slut who wants you, who is possibly married. Find someone who's difficult. Find someone who you have arguments with, and then and then marry them if they're not married already.
So, are you familiar with with the Judgment of Paris?
Vaguely. Hold on. I just wanted to. What was I gonna say? I don't know. I think we should end it. Tell me about the Judgment of Paris very quickly.
Yes. So there were these three goddesses. I thought he'd be interested as a pagan. So there was Hera, who is the who was the goddess of marriage, I think, and wealth. And there was Athena, the goddess of war and wisdom, and there was Aphrodite, the goddess of love and persuasion.
Yeah.
And they wanted Paris to award them with the golden apple because they were in competition with each other. And,
Hmm.
and, and so Paris was offered the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Uh, Athena offered Paris wisdom, and Hera offered him wealth and empire,
Hmm.
and the rest is history. You know what he chose, but how would you have chosen?
Wisdom, obviously.
Oh, great! Well, you are clearly the philosopher. I know men who would still choose the what Paris chose after all this time.
No,
They
yeah, I
obviously don't
mean,
get it.
you can get every other thing with wisdom. I mean,
Exactly, and so you know, but it's sort of like, well, what's the point of all this wisdom and this war and this wealth? It's only to get a woman with, right? I mean, that could be
yeah,
their excuse.
maybe.
Hmm, there you go.
No, no, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's amazing how.
Well done for answering correctly. I was
Thank
so afraid you wouldn't.
you. I'm glad you were afraid. Someone has to be.
Hmm. Well, that's been, well, I've enjoyed it, and I
Yeah,
think we
I don't
did.
know. I think I had a lot more to say, but it
Have you
is one
forgotten it all?
well, exactly,
You never told
exactly.
me about the runes.
Ah, let's not get
Well,
into
next time then. And next time we can argue about the whether culture is a product of law and morality, or you can just concede, and then we can move on to the next thing about what the law should be and what the moral system should be for white
Yeah,
people who want to raise white birth rates. Hmm? Oh, but anyway, you said long ago that you're a secular Quranist, but only a secular Quranist in theory. We want you to be a secular Quranist in practice.
sure. Should we say this? Should we say that I'm a secular Quranist in practice, but I'm not a secular Quranist in theory?
As you would,
I'll leave the theory to you.
yes. Well, I think that's been very productive, Rob. Thank you, and yes, I do enjoy my conversations with you, and
All
the
right. Well,
unexpected detours.
thanks for having me on Koraniyule, and blessings, greetings, happy Yule tides, and happy Merry Christmas and everything else to everyone listening. And yeah, enjoy, enjoy, enjoy.
All right, all right, all right.